Hello everyone, this is Dr. Sonam Arora and today we are going to discuss about the theories of dividend policy. So in our last session we discussed about what exactly the dividend policy, and today we are going to discuss about what are the different theories of the dividend policy. So when we talk about the word dividend policy, the whole dividend theories are divided into two parts. So one is your relevance theories. So according to this school of thought, dividend decision affect the value of a firm. So who are the advocates of this school of thought? So the important people are James Walter, Marin Gordon and Richardson. These are the people who give the theories related to the relevant theories, or we can say these are the people who said that dividend decision affect the value of a firm. Second school of thought is an irrelevance theory. Now what does people used to say? So according to this school of thought, dividend decision has no effect on the market price of a share and the value of a firm. So then what is going to affect if not the dividend? So the value of firm is determined by its earning power and its business risk. Or you can say the demand and supply is also major component which is going to affect the firm prices or the share prices. So the proponent of this particular school of thought is Miller and Modglini. Now, let's talk about the dividend policy here. So let's assume there is a company called XYZ. So the XYZ shares are sold in a market at rupees 100 per share. So now you are going to ask me, ma'am, is this particular Walter model going to help me to determine the market price? No. Any theory will not be helpful to come up with the actual point of the market price. These theories give you a theoretical market price because these are all theories. So the first concern you are having is whether to buy or sell the share. So you know that the market price of XYZ is 100 rupees per share. Now the basic question is, madam, either I want to buy the share or I want to sell this share. So there are two circumstances or the two directions. The first one is either your share is undervalued. So in that circumstances you have to buy that share, or your share is overvalued. Then in that circumstances you have to sell the share. Now the question arises here that how can we decide that this 100 rupees per share is overvalued or undervalued? So for this particular question, we need to calculate the theoretical market price. And this different theories, either we talk about the Walter, Gordon, Richardson, yeah, MM model. These different theories help you to calculate the theoretical market price. And in last you are able to get out the difference between the theoretical market price and actual market price. So here we are not able to come up with the actual market price. So I suppose it here that there is a company XYZ and its share are selling in the market right now at 100 per share. So the actual market price here is 100 per share, and we have to calculate now the theoretical market price. For calculating the theoretical market price, I used here Walter model. So Walter model helped me to calculate that TMP. But before I move towards the formula of a Walter model, let's go with some assumption. So the very first assumption here is that a firm will have an infinite or a perpetual life. It means a firm is there for, untimely duration. There is no time limit. But we simultaneously go with an example where I took 5 years. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 50 or whatever you can take, because the life of a company is perpetual. Now the second assumption is that EPS, earning per share, and DPS, dividend per share of a firm remain constant. So here I took EPS at 10 rupees and DPS at 4 rupees. It means the DPS 4 rupees is there for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. It is constant till the 5 year and throughout the life of the company. So see here, your EPS is 10, your DPS is 4. Now remember here, when I'm saying that your DPS is 4 rupees and your EPS is 10 rupees, it means your dividend payout ratio is 40%. And if your DPS is 4 rupees, it means you are earning 10 rupees. Out of 10 rupees, you are giving 4 rupees to the equity shareholder in a form of a dividend. Then what is going to happen with your remaining 6 rupees? So your remaining 6 rupees is your retained earning. So we are very clear about it. EPS is 10 rupees, DPS is 4 rupees and retained earning is 6 rupees. So when your EPS is constant, your DPS is constant, it means your retained earning is also constant. So over the period of time, it is 6 rupees. Now, let me talk about the ROI. So the third assumption here is that ROI is also constant, return on investment. So over the period of time, the return of investment is 12%. Now you said me, ma'am, how it is possible that ROI is 12%? Yes, it is not possible. But remember, we are talking about a theory. And all theories are based on certain assumption. So when I say that it is 12%, your ROI is 12%, it means the investment of company are going to earn you a 12%. Now what is the investment here? So let's go back. Our EPS is 10 rupees, DPS is 4 rupees. It means out of 10, company gave 4 rupees in form of dividend. So what is going to be with 6 rupees? 6 rupees is in retained earning for a company, and company not going to put that 6 rupees in the cash. Company is going to definitely reinvest that 6 rupees. So when company is reinvesting that 6 rupees, what we are going on that 6 rupees? We are going 12% on that 6 rupees. It means we are going to get 0.72. Now, let's remember this thing. It is not important for you that what is company going to do with that 6 rupees. It is not at all important. What is important for you as an investment, as an investor, to remember that what you are getting 0.72. Now you are getting 0.72 at the end of the first year, or you can say at the starting of the second year. Why? Because you are earning the dividend at the end of first year, and then company is going to reinvest that retained earning. It means you are getting the particular amount on the retained earning at the end of the second year. So at the end of the second year, you get 0.72. Then at the end of third year, 0.72. At the end of the fourth year, and this way perpetually you are getting 0.72. Now this 0.72 you are getting on the second year retained earning, similarly on the third year retained earning, on the fourth year retained earning, and so on. Then are you able to get the amount of that perpetuality? Are you able to calculate the present value of that perpetuality? Very well, we are able to do it. So in your previous semester, you studied the concept of time value of money. So when we talk about the time value of money, there is a concept called as perpetuality. So what is the basic formula of perpetuality? It is simply your annuity divided by the rate of interest, or your annuity divided by the interest generation rate which is given to you. Now here, your interest generation on your investment is 12%. But remember, this 12% is a rate of return for the company. What is your expectation as an investor? So when we talk about the expectation of an investor, we use the word KE, cost of equity. Mark my word here, we are having two different rates. One is your return on investment, which is the expectation of a company. But when we talk about KE, it is an expectation of an investor. So for an investor, it doesn't matter what is the ROI. For an investor, what does matter? The cost of equity, which we represent from KE. So again, My ROI is constant. I took it like 12%. What about my KE? So let's assume I took my KE as 10%. So my my expectation from the company is 10%. When I'm getting 0.72 on 10% perpetuity, what will be the amount? So very simple, it is 0.72 divided by 10%, it will be 7.2. But this 7.2 is of the first year, because I started earning on my perpetuity at the second year. So the value of the first year, the present value of the year 1 is 7.2. Now you are going to ask me, ma'am, this is a the structure become very complicated. I am earning 7.2 every year. So what will be the whole, what will be the exit earning on my retained earnings? So how can we do it? It is very simple. 7.2 divide by 10%, because we are again calculating the perpetuity for 0 year. Now the question is, why 0 year? Because you are investing in 0 year, which is going to give earnings on the coming year. But to get earning, you have to invest right now at 0 year. So it will be 72 rupees. Now what exactly you get? What is the total you get? So you get 72 rupees on the retained earning which company reinvest, and you get 40 rupees in form of dividend. So exactly you get 40 plus 72 is 112, 112 rupees in your investment. Now let's look about the formula. How this formula used to get, where this formula is coming. So we can easily say that formula is divided into two parts. The first one is your dividend perpetuity at the rate of 10% is 40. That is the one part. So I can simply say D upon KE. Now what is the second part of the formula? The second part of the formula talks about the remaining amount which company reinvest and earn on that reinvestment. So that is your 0.72 divided by 10% equals to 7.2 rupees. And then 7.2 rupees divided by 10% equals to rupees 72. So your formula can be D plus ROI, that is 0.12, divided by KE, that is 0.10, divided by KE the whole, that is 0.10, and EPS minus DPS. Now what is the EPS minus DPS? I can say my retained earning. So retained earning, how can we get that retained earning? 6 rupees, very simple. 10 rupees EPS minus 4 rupees DPS. So I can get the 6 rupees in form of retained earning. So from this way we are able to get the formula. So remember kids, just don't read the formula, don't rectify the formula. First you have to understand how this formula came into the existence. Now let's put this whole process into the equation given to you. If I put this whole into the equation, it is very simple. 4 plus 0.12 divided by 0.10, 10 minus 4. So I can get that retained earnings of 6 rupees and divided by the whole of 0.10. That is your KE. So if I solve this whole calculation, I am able to get rupees 112. Fine. So what exactly we get here? So your AMP, that is actual market price, when we started this whole exercise, the actual market price was 100 rupees. Your theoretical market price, which you get by putting this into the formula of a Walter model, you get 112 rupees. Now it say your AMP, your actual market price, is less than your theoretical market price. It means your share are undervalued. So buy the share, because you know the share are able to go up to 112, but shares are available in the market by 100 rupees. So you can buy that share. But let assume if the situation was not the same. In any circumstances, if your actual market price, which is 100 rupees, is greater than your TMP theoretical market price, if such type of situation exists, then in that circumstances your share are overvalued. It means you are getting more on your shares, and this is a very right time to sell that particular share. So the whole exercise is what Walter model is giving you. Walter model is helpful to give you that theoretical model, that theoretical market price. And with the help of that theoretical market price, you are able to judge that whether you have to buy that share or sell that share. But remember, I'm saying it again, it is all about the theory. So in our next class, we can use another theory, that is a Gordon model. Actually, in market, the shares move from the multiple factor. It is a business risk. It is a demand and supply of that particular share in the market. So Walter model just give us an idea that how dividend play an important role in the market price of the share. So this is all for the day. In our next session, we are going to discuss about another theory, that is the Gordon model, with the similar line of example. Till then, thank you. Keep safe.